Let me ask you something, and I want you to be brutally honest. How many of you feel like you're capable of more, but something keeps holding you back? You've got goals, you've got dreams, you've got fire in your gut, but somehow you're still stuck in the same patterns. Same doubts, same excuses, same results. What if I told you the gap between where you are and where you know you're meant to be isn't about talent? It's not about luck. It's not even about time. It's about habits. Specifically, the ones that are silently destroying your potential. It's not just what we do that shapes our lives. It's also what we tolerate, what we keep repeating without even noticing. Today, I'm going to give you 6 habits that you must quit. Not tomorrow, not next year, if you want to stop surviving and start thriving. Because the truth is, you don't need another motivational quote. You don't need another productivity hack. What you need is to cut the dead weight, to stop dragging habits that are poisoning your progress. So if you're ready to break the cycle, if you're ready to get out of your own way, then stay with me, because these 6 habits will either keep you small or set you free. And the choice? It's yours. You know, one of the biggest lies we've been sold is this idea that success has a perfect time. That there's some magical moment when everything in life will line up. The money's right. The timing's right. You feel fully ready, fully confident, and then bam, you take action. Let me tell you something. That moment, it doesn't exist. You're not stuck because you're unprepared. You're stuck because you're waiting. Waiting for clarity, waiting for certainty, waiting until you feel like it. But waiting is just fear wearing a nice suit. It's procrastination dressed up as patience, and it's killing your momentum. Let me make this simple. You do not need permission to start. You don't need everything figured out. You don't need the stars to align. What you need is a decision, a real one, a decision that says, I'm not waiting anymore. I'm building, I'm moving, I'm becoming right now. Because momentum doesn't come from clarity. Clarity comes from momentum. You take the step and then the path starts to unfold. You move forward and then the confidence shows up. But if you keep standing on the edge of the pool waiting to feel warm, you'll never get in. Life doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards action. Do you ever notice how we tend to romanticize the idea of starting someday? We say things like, once I have more time, then I'll go for it. Or once I'm more confident, I'll speak up. But someday isn't on the calendar. Someday is a graveyard for dreams. You want to know how people change their lives? They stop negotiating with their limitations and start making non-negotiable decisions. Listen, every breakthrough I've ever seen, every person who's transformed their body, rebuilt their business, restored their relationships, you know what they all had in common? They quit waiting. They didn't wait to feel ready. They decided to become ready through action. That's the power of now. The minute you act, even if it's small, you break the cycle. You reclaim control. And when you do it consistently, you build trust with yourself. And that is everything. You want self-confidence? Start by keeping promises to yourself. Start by taking that first uncomfortable, messy, imperfect step. Because the truth is, if you don't act, nothing changes. A year from now, you'll be standing in the exact same spot, wondering why you still feel stuck while someone else, no smarter than you, no more talented than you, decided to stop waiting and start moving. So this is your wake-up call. You don't need a new plan, you need a new standard. You need to decide that waiting is no longer an option. Your life will not change when the conditions change. It will change when you do. And it starts the moment you stop waiting for the right time and decide to make this time the right one. Let me tell you something. Most people never realize. Your life is a direct reflection of the conversation you're having with yourself every single day. And for a lot of people, that conversation is brutal. It's full of shame, doubt, judgment, and fear. It's not strategy that's holding them back. It's not lack of opportunity. It's not even failure. It's the voice inside their head telling them they're not enough. Think about it. If a friend talked to you the way you talk to yourself, you'd cut him out of your life. You wouldn't tolerate it. But when it comes from your own mind, you accept it as truth. You say things like, I'm not smart enough. I always screw this up. I'll never be as good as them. And you say it so often, you start to believe it. But here's the truth. Just because that voice is loud doesn't mean it's right. You weren't born talking to yourself that way. Somewhere along the way, you learned to judge, to criticize, to shrink. Maybe it came from people who hurt you. Maybe it came from failure. Maybe it came from trying to fit in. But now, it's your responsibility to unlearn it. Because if you don't change your internal language, you will sabotage every opportunity you ever get. You'll walk into rooms already disqualified in your own mind. You'll back away from challenges before you even try. Not because you're not capable, but because your inner dialogue told you a lie and you believed it. Let me be real with you. You can't outperform your own identity. If deep down you see yourself as broken or weak or average, then even when you win, you'll find a way to pull yourself back down. That's why affirmations aren't just cheesy motivational tricks. They're weapons. Every time you speak life over yourself, you're rewriting the script. Every time you challenge that inner critic, you're breaking years of programming. This isn't about pretending everything's perfect. This is about choosing a voice that empowers you rather than destroys you. Because that voice, that becomes your standard. That becomes your energy. That becomes your life. So when you wake up and that old voice starts whispering, you're not enough, you answer back, that's not who I am anymore. You remind yourself, I am growing, I am learning, I am capable. You don't have to lie to yourself, but you damn well better stop attacking yourself. There's a big difference. Because here's what I know, confidence doesn't start on the outside, it starts inside your head. It's not about how people see you, it's about how you see yourself when no one's looking. And the good news is, you're the one in control of that voice. Change the story and you change your life. One of the hardest habits to break and one of the most toxic is the habit of people pleasing. It sneaks in quietly. You think you're just being kind, flexible, supportive. You say yes when you want to say no. You keep the peace. You avoid confrontation. You try to make everyone happy. But little by little, you start losing pieces of yourself in the process. Here's the truth. Trying to be liked by everyone will leave you exhausted and empty. Because when your worth is tied to how other people see you, you become a slave to their opinions. And let me tell you, no matter how much you do, how much you give, how much you try, someone is always going to have something to say. There will always be critics. There will always be people who don't get it, who don't get you. And that's okay. They're not supposed to. You were not born to blend in. You were born to stand out. But you can't stand out if you're constantly editing yourself to fit in. You can't lead, create, or build a powerful life while living in fear of disappointing people. I see it all the time. People shrinking their voice, watering down their goals, playing small, just so they won't ruffle feathers. And you know what happens? They end up resentful, tired, disconnected from their true identity. And that creates a slow kind of suffering because you're busy living someone else's version of your life. At some point, you've got to make a decision. Whose approval matters more, theirs or your own? Because you cannot chase both. You cannot live your truth while also chasing applause. That applause is fleeting. What lasts is alignment. You've got to get real about what you value, what you believe, and where you're going, and then have the courage to stay on that path, even when it makes others uncomfortable. Does that mean you stop caring? Of course not. But it means you stop compromising your peace just to make others comfortable. It means you stop abandoning yourself in exchange for validation. Because if the price of connection is your authenticity, it's not real connection, it's just performance. And listen, when you start setting boundaries, people will react. They're used to the version of you that bends, that always says yes, that puts everyone else first. So when you change, some people will leave. That's okay, let them. The people who truly value you, the ones who respect your growth, they'll stay. They'll adjust. And the rest, they were never really for you anyway. So if you want freedom, real freedom, the kind that lets you breathe deep and live bold, you've got to let go of the need to be liked by everyone. Respect is earned when you stop seeking approval and start honoring yourself. You want to know one of the biggest thieves of joy, purpose, and progress? Comparison. And it's everywhere. We don't even realize we're doing it half the time. You scroll through your feed, you see someone's highlight reel, their success, their body, their relationship, their lifestyle, and before you even realize it, you're questioning your own worth. You're stacking your reality against someone else's projection. And that's a losing game every time. Let's get real. Comparison isn't just unfair. It's toxic. It convinces you that what you have isn't enough, that who you are isn't enough. It tells you that you're behind when the truth is you're just running a completely different race. We've been conditioned to measure our lives by someone else's scoreboard, but their scoreboard doesn't reflect your mission, your calling, your values. And the moment you start living for their numbers, you lose sight of your own purpose. No one wins their own life by trying to live someone else's. And you know what else? Half the time, the people you're comparing yourself to are struggling in ways you can't even see. You're jealous of someone's success, but you don't know the price they paid to get there. You envy their lifestyle, but you don't see the pressure they carry, the stress, the loneliness. Everyone's fighting a battle you know nothing about. That's why comparison is not only destructive, it's also based on a false picture. You've got to start focusing on your own lane, your own path, your own growth. Because when you're constantly looking sideways, you lose forward momentum. You hesitate, you doubt, you delay. And that delay can cost you years. Not because you weren't capable, but because you were too busy wishing you had someone else's chapter instead of writing your own. There's a power that comes when you stop comparing and start appreciating. Appreciating where you are. Appreciating what you've been through. Appreciating what you've got, even if it's not perfect. Because gratitude kills comparison. The more grateful you become, the more confident you grow, you start realizing you're not behind. You're being prepared. You're not late. You're learning. And you're not less than. You're just on a different assignment. So hear this. Your value is not tied to how you stack up against anyone else. You are not in competition with them. Your only competition is the person you were yesterday. That's it. Wake up every day and ask yourself, am I better than I was last week? Am I becoming stronger, wiser, more honest, more focused? That's the measure that matters. Because the goal is not to be better than someone else. The goal is to become the best version of you. And that version, it only shows up when you stop comparing and start creating. Let's talk about excuses. Not the kind you say out loud. The quiet ones. The ones you tell yourself in the mirror when no one's around. I don't have time. I'm too tired. I've already tried. It's just who I am. Those excuses, they feel so real, so justified. But let's be honest, they're just stories. The stories we've rehearsed so many times that we don't even question them anymore. They become part of our identity. But let me tell you something. Every time you repeat that story, you reinforce your limits. Every time you let that excuse be the reason you don't follow through, you give up your power. And it's not because you can't do it. It's because somewhere along the way you made an agreement with a lie that says you're not ready or not capable or not worth the effort. That's not the truth. That's a comfort zone disguised as a mindset. See, the problem with excuses is they protect your comfort, but they rob your future. You stay safe, but you stay stuck. And the scary part, you can get really good at defending your limits. You'll build a case for why you're not where you want to be. And that case can sound pretty convincing. But here's the deal. Life doesn't care about your case. Results don't come from reasoning. They come from responsibility. The day your life begins to shift is the day you stop saying I can't and start asking how can I? It's the moment you stop blaming time, people, circumstances, and start owning your choices. That's not easy, but it's powerful because when you drop the excuses, you pick up the truth. You are in control, maybe not of everything, but of your response, your effort, your mindset. And that's enough to change your life. I've seen people with every disadvantage imaginable completely rewrite their story, not because they had better resources, but because they stopped buying their own excuses. They got sick of the cycle, they got honest, they got hungry, and they made a decision. No more waiting for the perfect moment, no more blaming the past, no more playing small, just real action, real ownership, real growth, and you can do the same. But first, you've got to stop negotiating with your potential. Stop lowering your standards to match your excuses. Raise your standards so high that your excuses don't stand a chance. That's when the breakthrough happens. That's when you start to feel alive again. Because deep down, you're no longer lying to yourself. You're showing up. You're moving forward. And that creates momentum that no excuse can stop. So here it is. Your breakthrough starts the moment you stop telling yourself why you can't and start showing yourself what happens when you do. You want to know one of the heaviest things people carry? It's not debt. It's not stress. It's not even failure. It's the past. The weight of what they did or didn't do. The regret of what was said or left unsaid. The pain, the guilt, the shame, the old identity. Dragging it forward into every new chapter, wondering why life still feels stuck. And the truth is, as long as you're living in the past, you're not really living at all. You're just recycling old memories, old emotions, and calling it a life. There are people who haven't been physically hurt in years, but mentally and emotionally, they're still bleeding, still replaying that betrayal, that mistake, that loss like it happened yesterday, still identifying with who they were at their lowest point and carrying that version of themselves into everything they do today. Let me tell you something. You are not your past. What happened might explain you, but it doesn't define you. It's not who you are, it's something you've been through. And yes, maybe it hurt, maybe it changed you, maybe it knocked the wind out of you, but it didn't end you. And that means you got a choice. You can keep opening the same chapter, reading the same lines, repeating the same emotional script, or you can turn the page. Learn the lesson, carry the wisdom, but leave the pain behind. See, the past is supposed to be a place of reference, not a place of residence. You don't heal by clinging, you heal by releasing. And that doesn't mean you forget. It means you no longer give it the power to control who you are now. It means you stop identifying with a version of you that didn't know better, that didn't have the tools, that didn't have the strength. You have the tools now. You are stronger now, but you can't access that power while you're still clinging to who you used to be. And it's not just the pain, it's the identity attached to it. Some of you are addicted to the story of being the underdog, the broken one, the one who got left behind, because that story's familiar. It's comfortable, but it's also keeping you small. You've outgrown it, and now it's your job to outgrow the excuses that come with it, because you can't rewrite your future while your pen is still stuck in the past. Letting go is a decision. It's not always pretty, it's not always instant, but it's powerful. It says, I honor what I've been through, but I refuse to be defined by it. It says, I'm not going to let what happened to me be the reason I stop becoming who I'm meant to be. The moment you let go of the past is the moment your future finally has room to breathe.